Hello and welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another Historical Humans Heritage. And on today's episode of Historical Humans Heritage, we are visiting a Bronze Age site that, if you are able to pronounce, we will pin you in the comment, because I don't know how to say that.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the nearest thing I can. Nuraxi di Barumini. Seems about right.
Bless you.
The site is located in Sardinia, Italy, and it is a type of defensive fortification known as a Nuraji, which has no parallel in the entirety of the world, it seems.
Really?
So it is something unique to the island of Sardinia and can be found nowhere else on Earth. It is a circular defensive tower that forms sort of a series of cones out of dressed stone. So it effectively appears that if you ever held an acorn with the point upwards, that is what we are looking at as a fortress here.
So they looked at an acorn and went, this is fire.
Yeah. Well, it's Sardinia. I don't think they had acorns.
Is it? Wait. Yeah, no, I don't know. That's
Yeah. No, I think I'm
Maybe
pretty
one
sure
of them went
acorns are
abroad to
temperate, and
somewhere
Sardinia
exotic.
is Mediterranean.
I mean, I guess you could also just suggest, maybe birds flew them there. I don't know. Do acorns migrate?
It must have been
I
an African swallow.
yeah,
Birds can do it.
yeah.
It's the airspeed velocity of an African swallow.
Uh, anyway, so the complex at Barumini, which is the one that is the UNESCO World Heritage Site here, was actually built on top of during the first millennium BCE by the Carthaginians.
Oh,
Those
right.
pesky
Yeah,
Carthaginians.
because during that time, Carthage and Rome strove to control the islands to the west of mainland Italy, with typically the western half of the island going to Carthage and the eastern half going to Rome. And Barumini is in the southeastern or southwestern part of the island.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So it was expanded. However, it appears that a lot of the prehistoric architecture, rather than being torn down or having something new put over it, was just simply repaired and then made bigger. Carthaginians were being pragmatic about it. It's like,
Eh,
well, we wanted the defensive fortification here. Let's just pull this wall back up.
I just imagine they pulled up to the area. They're like, all right, we need a great defensive location. They looked up to the bluff. They looked up to the hillside. Like, that rock outcropping. We'll go up there. They go and look. This isn't half bad. All right.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll fix up that wall. Okay. We need to expand over here. They went total house hunter and just started, like, remodeling it as they're walking through.
Oh my God, yes.
I like the vision here. I think we can have a nice bunkhouse over here, and if we have a good viewpoint over the valley here.
So,
Good
um,
God.
yeah. So, Nuragi are typically built in the middle or late Bronze Age, about 1600 to 1200 BCE. The Nuragi at Barumini was inhabited from about that time all the way up to the 3rd century CE, so about 1900 years of continuous use, or near continuous, enough that it doesn't show a gap in the archaeological record.
Wow.
Yeah.
Um,
If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. These structures are believed to have been originally built by single families or clans. So this would originally be like a small family fortress that would just increasingly grow and expand with larger and larger towers. Sort of Russian nesting doll its way outward.
No, that's kind of interesting. That's almost like a hive of, like, each family gets their own little module that they build up, and then together they create the fortress, the overarching structure.
Yeah, yeah. Now, Yeah, and so the one here actually really goes in on that, as its central tower consists of three chambers connected by a spiral staircase that is estimated to have originally been at least 18.5 meters high, or I believe that is that'd be what, close to 50 feet.
Wow.
Um, the uppermost chamber, however, no longer exists.
Those pesky Carthaginians.
Yeah.
God
Yeah,
damn them
and
all.
one of the things the Carthaginians actually did is there's a courtyard created by a number of the walls linking subsidiary towers to the central tower. The Carthaginians actually roofed that so that even if you got to one of the smaller towers, you didn't have easy access to the central one.
Interesting.
Effectively just cutting off the smaller towers from being able to just turn and fire into the courtyard. Just being like, yeah, no, we're gonna do defense in depth here. um, yeah. Um, yeah. So Nuraxi does undergo a period of abandonment in the 6th century. It stops being repaired. However, it is inhabited on and off for another 900 years.
Wow.
Yeah, and this particular form of structure stops being built entirely in all of Sardinia during the Roman conquest of the 2nd century BCE. So, thanks, Rome.
That's why we can never have anything nice.
Yeah. No, you really can't. You really can't have nice things in the vicinity of the Roman Empire.
Yeah.
They're like land British. They just swarm everything.
Well, the British are just like no.
British
I don't
are
like
sea
that.
Romans?
Yeah, the
The
British are sea Romans. Anyways,
Yeah.
Americans are oil Romans. The British are sea Romans.
oh no, we are
Oh.
oil Romans. Anyways, some of the things why this site is important is it's one of the most complete examples of this type of architecture. It's a really great testimony to Bronze Age civilization of Sardinia and how the evolution of the socio-political spectrum had been there, because you can clearly see levels of social stratification. I mean, it's a really interesting site. Now, what kind of protections do they have on that bad boy?
So the management of it, it has a buffer zone that is interestingly enough divided, as it were. The buffer zone extends to its north, to its southwest, and to its east, meaning that there are gaps in the buffer zone that can lead up to the monument, which is a interesting decision.
Could be for roadway and utilities
Yeah.
sake.
The reason for that is largely because those areas are homes to farms,
Oh.
and extending a buffer over them was not really viewed as a necessary thing or something that would provide adequate protections.
Interesting.
Basically, it's like the farmer will plant whatever the farmer plants there. The farmer being there is not going to disturb this site so long as the farmer stays on the farmer's land. And it's like, and that seemed like a reasonable enough agreement at the time. There has been an institutional agreement between the Ministry of Cultural Heritage and the municipalities around the archaeological sites. Just sort of creates a de facto larger buffer zone, effectively allowing the buffer to extend across multiple county lines, which is something that you don't always necessarily see. A lot of times the buffer zone is mandated by a single county and can't extend beyond that, county's jurisdiction. So it's a weird little political alliance. It's kind of odd how they've done it, having to like do this roundtable thing instead of just having the federal government dictate it. But if it works to meet the local needs, it meets local needs. The buffer zone obviously does some weird bending here to accommodate the people living on the island, which is a necessity that we don't always really talk about with these.
Yeah. Well, and a lot of times I don't know if they necessarily have live-in people in that regard.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Very rarely do we see sites with like living people right on top of them that isn't an urban center. That's it's like welcome to historic Quebec.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Ministry of Cultural Heritage does manage the site and is responsible for it. However, running the property is under the responsibility of the municipality, which is interesting. So there's a lot of, again, very complex decisions going on with who does what and what decisions can or can't be made. It seems like the biggest protection or the best protection that was decided on for this site was to make sure that everyone had overlapping layers of responsibility so that no one governmental group could simply, pull it the way it wanted to benefit itself at the time, because everybody's got the hands in the same pot, which is a good way to force cooperative management.
Yeah.
No one person can push a button.
But I think that's a good point here for us to wrap up. If you enjoyed today's video, drop a like, subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video.